אז אני אדבר טיפה, אני היחיד פה שידבר בעברית, אני אגיד גם למה. אז אני אדבר טיפה, אני אתן רקע קצת לכל מי שכן עובד במטאור, אז מה קורה כרגע בדברים הגדולים בקהילה של מטאור, ואז אני אעביר את זה לאנשים שבאמת ייתנו לכם הרצאות שבאמת אפקטיביות. צריך לעבור לפה. אז בגדול, הדבר הכי משמעותי שקורה כרגע במטאור, בעצם נובע מזה שמטאור כבר נמצאת כמה זמן, בעצם מאז גרסה 1.0, במצב שיש פריימורק, פלטפורמה עובדת, שיש המון אפליקציות שכבר קיימות, ובעצם הפלטפורמה הוכיחה את עצמה. זאת אומרת, מבחינת המשימה של מטאור, שזו פלטפורמה אחת שלוקחת את כל ה-use cases שלכם, ונותנת לכם פלטפורמה שלמה, גם לכתוב אפליקציות מובייל, גם לכתוב build systems, גם להתחבר לדאטאבייס, והכל ביחד, לעטוף לכם את זה בצורה נורמלית. מטאור עשתה את זה והוכיחה את זה, ועכשיו מה שקורה זה, בעצם אנחנו לומדים מכל התהליך הזה, ולומדים מכל האפליקציות פרודקשן שכבר קיימות, ובעצם עכשיו משפרים את המערכת הקיימת שעובדת. זאת אומרת, עד היום חשוב להגיד, אין פלטפורמה כזאת. אין באמת מתחרה למטאור, אין פלטפורמה שלקחה את כל הספקטרום של כל הדברים האלה, וחיברה אותם והצליחה לעשות את זה. אז עכשיו, שמאז גרסה 1.0 שמטאור עשתה את זה, אנחנו עכשיו לוקחים חלקים ומשפרים. עכשיו, יש תמיד לאנשים מה להגיד על מטאור. נגיד למשל, אחת הביקורות הכי ידועות זה שמטאור לא משתמשת ב-NPM והמצאנו package system משל עצמנו. אז קודם כל, יש הרבה סיבות, אני לא אדבר פה הרבה על למה מטאור, יש packaging system משל עצמה, יש הרבה שיחות שתוכלו לראות אותם ודברים כאלה, אבל מה שקורה במטאור 1.3, שזו גרסה שתצא, אני מניח, בסוף החודש, ואנחנו אישית בגילדה כבר עובדים איתה, זה בעצם, יש תמיכה מלאה ב-NPM, ותמיכה מלאה ב-ES6 מודולס. זאת אומרת, יש סטנדרט ב-ES6 מודול של איך לעשות require ואיך לעשות dependencies במודולים, סוף סוף בנוד ובקליינט סייט, ומטאור בעצם מוציאה גרסה שתומכת בדבר הזה out of the box, ויותר מזה, מה שמאוד מעניין, היא גם תומכת אחורה למטאור 1.2. זאת אומרת, יכולים, יש לכם אפליקציה, כל מי שיש פה אפליקציה קיימת במטאור 1.2, אתם יכולים פשוט לשדרג את זה ל-1.3, ואז לאט לאט להעביר את הדברים שלכם למודולים. אתם לא צריכים, אין breaking changes עם הדבר הזה. זה מאוד משמעותי אבל, כי קודם כל, לשים dependencies ולא להשתמש בגלובל זה דבר נהדר. ודבר שני, זה פותח את הקהילה לכל עולם הג'אווה-סקריפט. זאת אומרת, NPM היום זה ה-package system הכי גדול בעולם, הכי גדול בהיסטוריה בגדול. והיום זה אומר שאתם מאוד בקלות יכולים להשתמש בכל package שקיים ב-NPM, ויותר מזה שאתם כותבים package מתיאוריה, אתם יכולים קודם כל לחשוב האם הוא בכלל ספציפי למטאור, ואז לכתוב אותו קודם כל כ-NPM package, ואז להביא אותו למטאור. זאת אומרת, אתם יכולים לכתוב package שהוא רלוונטי לכל הקהילה, זה פותח גם את כל הידע שקיים בקהילה של מטאור לכל קהילת הג'אווה-סקריפט. אז זה שינוי מאוד משמעותי אחד. שינוי מאוד משמעותי אחר זה שהוא טיפה יותר עתידי, אבל כבר אנחנו עובדים עליו, זה בעצם נגיד הטענות הקשות נגד מטאור השנייה, הטענה הנוספת, זה בעצם זה שאין תמיכה מובנית ב-SQL. אז מה שקורה עכשיו, יש בעצם מי שמכיר פייסבוק שחררו סטנדרט פרוטוקול מאוד מאוד מעניין שנקרא GraphQL, שהם עובדים איתו בעצם מ-2012, כשהם עשו את המעבר הגדול של פייסבוק למובייל. ומטאור הם בעצם הפריימורק הרציני הראשון שבעצם לקח את GraphQL תחת חסותו, ואם ראיתם, פשוט תראו את הבלוג פוסט האחרון שיצא לפני שבוע בערך במטאור, אנחנו הולכים לכתוב משהו שנקרא Reactive GraphQL, זאת אומרת, אנחנו הולכים להשתמש ב-GraphQL בשביל לעשות דברים שהם כמו REST, אבל גם לבסס, לעשות real time על סמך GraphQL. גם במקרה הזה, זה יתמוך אחורה בשכבת דאטה הקיימת של מטאור, ב-DDP. בעצם הרבה רעיונות שפייסבוק עכשיו משחררת ואנשים נורא מתלהבים מהם, כמו רילay וגרף QL, אם אתם מסתכלים ב-high level, זה דברים שמטאור כבר עושה 4 שנים, אבל עכשיו שפייסבוק נכנסת לסיפור הזה, אז זה עוזר לנו לעשות סטנדרטיזציה לסיפור הזה, ומי שעובד על הדאטה לייר במטאור נפגש כל שבוע עם הצוות של GraphQL. בעצם מטאור הופכת להיות בעצם השלוחה של פייסבוק באיזשהו מקום כדי לעשות אופן סורס בנוד לידע הזה שיש בפייסבוק, ולהוסיף את היכולות הייחודיות שבGraphQL ופייסבוק חסרות כרגע. זהו, איזה עוד דברים רציתי להגיד? אני היחיד שדבר פה בעצם...
GraphQL יתמוך בלוקאפ של
אין לי מושג. כאילו, זה תלוי, למה אתה מתכוון בלוקאפ?
לוקאפ זה מאפשר לעשות קפיצות בין פונקציה חדשה שיש במונגו, MongoDB, שצריך חדשות לבצע שאילתה כולל נתונים משיעות שונות. דוקימנט שונים.
אוקיי. אני נגיד לא מכיר את זה, אבל... אני אחזור על השאלה. השאלה הייתה בעצם האם GraphQL יתמוך בלוקאפ במונגו-DB. אני לא מכיר את גלוקאפ, אבל אני יודע שזה יתמוך. כי בעצם GraphQL זה פרוטוקול שהוא מאוד חופשי, ובעצם הסיבה שפייסבוק פיתחו את הפרוטוקול הזה זה כי היה להם תשתיות PHP עדיין. תשתיות PHP מאוד מאוד גדולות, והם היו צריכים מימוש, כאילו מין שכבת מימוש מעל הדבר הזה, שהם יוכלו בעצם לדבר בפרוטוקול אחר לגמרי, מעל שרתים שמדברים בפרוטוקול אחר לגמרי ולעשות הפרדה מוחלטת. GraphQL נותן מין כאלה, כמו, לא רוצה לקרוא לזה הוקס, אבל זה כמו מין, נותן לך פונקציות בעצם שמממשות את הדרישות. אז בעצם אתה יכול להריץ איזה פונקציה שאתה רוצה, בין אם בקליינט ובין אם בשרת, ואז זה לא משנה אם זה מונגו, אם זה פונקציה ספציפית של מונגו, אם זה SQL, אם זה REST. זאת אומרת, GraphQL הרבה פעמים שמים מעל שרתי REST כדי לעשות את כל הקריאות יותר יעילות. אני לא אכנס לזה עכשיו, יש שיחות נורא מעניינות על GraphQL. אז זהו, אז אני רק אגיד שיש פה, אני היחיד שידבר פה בעברית. הסיבה לזה זה כי רצינו, יש פה מרצים כאילו הנושאים שיציגו לכם היום זה נושאים שהם רלוונטיים לכל הקהילה בעולם. אז אחד, רצינו שהשידור הזה הוא משודר גם יהיה בערוץ יוטיוב של מטאור. רצינו לחשוף את, כאילו לתת במה גם למרצים עצמם, זאת אומרת כל מי שירצה פה יבוא לפה עם ידע ייחודי וירצה כאן, אז יגיע לו גם שכל הקהילה מסביב לעולם יראו את הידע שלו, ויותר מזה הידע שהאנשים הספציפיים שירצו לכם פה זה ידע שהוא רלוונטי לכל קהילת המטאור, והוא באמת מחדש. אנחנו לא לוקחים ידע שמישהו פעם אמר באנגלית ואומרים את זה בעברית, אלא יש פה באמת כאילו חידושים. זה חלק מהפירוטכניקה. זהו, אז אני לא יודע אם אמרתי קודם, אבל בעצם אני אסיים בזה. הרבה מהאנשים שירצו פה הם חברים שלי אישיים בגילדה, שדיברתי עליה. אנחנו עושים פרויקטים בעצם, אנחנו מקימים, יש לנו כמה פרויקטים מאוד מאוד גדולים גם בארץ. חשוב לי להגיד את זה כי חשוב לי שתבינו שיש פה בארץ ידע ייחודי, ואתם יכולים להיכנס לטכנולוגיה הזאת ויהיה פה קהילה שתתמוך אתכם. אישית, ספציפית, אנחנו עובדים למשל על פרויקט הכי גדול שאנחנו יכולים לדבר עליו, ונתנו לי אישור לדבר עליו פה. בנק לאומי מקים בנק דיגיטלי חדש לחלוטין, תשתיות חדשות לחלוטין, ואנחנו מקימים את זה. אז יש גב לטכנולוגיה הזאת, וזהו. אז נקבל את המרצה הראשון שלנו, עומרי קלינגר.
Hey everybody, my name is Omri Klinger and I will talk today about scaling Meteor apps. Meteor is the best tool I know for building an app. You can make something useful in a couple of hours, but the question whether this infrastructure can support reload is still in debate. I will share today some insights again by taking Meteor to the edge. I hope it will convince all of you that it can scale well. So we will start by building an Uber-like app, a very simple app that returns all the taxis. We start with a naive publication that returns a cursor, that returns all the taxis to the client, and we will start to scale the app from here. The first optimization, very naive one, is just limit the subscription size and the projection fields. We don't want to send all the taxis back. One moment. So meanwhile, I will say that all the solutions that you will see today have been done by people and have been tested aggressively with great performance, sharing subscriptions between thousands of users, with thousands of updates per sec per each client. Okay. Okay, so we'll keep it from here. So as you can see, we added a limit to the query options and the relevant field we want to return. We don't want to return the driver name for each of the fields, for example. Next optimization, reuse publication and use indexing. Each publication live query over the DB puts some load on our system, both on the DB because we are fetching the data and the memory because we are keeping an image of the memory being used on the server, and the CPU because we are diffing the fetch data with the image of the memory we keep. So we will try to reuse as much of the publication as we can. So we will ignore patterns like this where the timestamp, the hour ago, is shared between all the clients. It's not being shared. It's unique per client, so the subscription is not reusable. And we will use patterns like this, where the timestamp is shared between all the users, and we can share and reuse the publication. Moreover, we will use MongoDB indexes to get better performance. We should keep in mind that each index over the DB puts some load on the DB as well, so we should use it with caution. So our app started to grow. We put it into the App Store, the Google Play. We gained our initial users, the beta testers. But then, boom. The response time grows. The user gets bad service. The CPU spikes, and we need to solve it. The best solution out of the box, which I'm sure you heard about, is using the oplog. That's why we added the sort to the query, because in order to use the oplog, if we use a limit, we should specify sort as well. But what is the oplog, and how does it change how we handle the data? So the oplog is a unique special capped collection that MongoDB uses in order to keep all the modifications that have been done to the data stored on your DB. This is the engine behind the replica set of MongoDB that keeps your secondary in sync. And if we are using pooling, for example, if you see there, and we are fetching a subscription of 500 documents, so every 10 sec, this is the default in Meteor, we fetch all the 500 documents, we are doing a diff between them and the current image of the subscription in memory, and sending the client only the relevant changes. The problem with this is that even if there were no changes at all, we are still fetching 500 documents we are still computing the diff of the 500 documents. Moreover, because it's been done by default every 10 seconds, so if an update occurred in another instance of our app, not the one we are connected to, the latency could be more than 10 seconds till we get the update, not real time. The other way, using the uplog, at first, we fetch twice the amount of data we would like to return to the client. Half of it we are putting in a data structure of max-heap, and the other half, the next in line, we put in a min-max heap. And afterwards, we are just listening to the changes of the uplog. On each change, we are checking whether it's relevant to our current publication, and if so, we are putting into the max heap, pop the last element, and that way we can handle changes without querying the DB anymore. Moreover, this solution makes us scale very well because we are not putting extra load on the DB. And also, if there are no changes, there is no CPU wasted on doing the diff, and we are always doing a diff of one document instead of the 500 document at the same time. In order to use the uplog, we should modify our query a bit. We can't use skip in the options. If we are doing a limit, we should add a sort and maybe use an index for the sort. We can use only simple fields projection. I guess all of you are using only simple. The hard ones are the ones that are not supported by mini-Mongo, like LMH. And the worst of all, we can't use geoqueries like where and near that are not supported over the uplog. And to allow all of this, we need to use the MongoDB replica set and expose the Mongo uplog URL.
Nearby?
What?
Nearby is supported?
Nearby, no. No geoquery is supported. The next optimization, which is kind of out of the box as well, but I think it's important to talk about, is using LRU cache for frequently fetched data from the DB. If you're using the Alanin roles package, for example, a client that subscribes to a couple of subscriptions at the same time, for example, the client loads a page and subscribes to 10 different subscriptions, and in each you are using the role of the package to think whether you can support this subscription. Going to the DB all the time when being used frequently can put some load on your system. So you can use LRU cache. There is a great NPM package by Isaac, one of the co-contributors of NPM. There is a link at the bottom. So now we feel like we are ready for scale. We uploaded a couple of instances. We feel great. We see the metrics in Google Analytics rise. But then, shit happens. Really. The problem now is that it doesn't matter how many instances we put, each of them spikes. The CPU got to 100% every time we add another instance. Why? Because when using the uplog analyzes every change to the DB. So when you are having write-heavy data on your DB, I think I started to feel it around 50,000 updates a minute. All of your several CPUs are being wasted on just analyzing the uplog. So what can we do? In this case, we can split the DB and get the best of both worlds. We will separate the write-heavy data to another DB, where we will use polling, and the regular data that is being read a lot, but not updates frequently, we will use the regular DB using the uplog. This is a sample code. The idea here is just that in the top, we see how to connect to different DB. And at the bottom, these are the two operations we use in order to use the pooling instead of the uplog. We disable the uplog. And the last one is the pooling interval. If we want to change the 10 sec default of Meteor and we want to do pooling once a sec, for example, we use this parameter. But even now, we still have some problem. Our memory being used is too high. And this is due to the merge box. The problem, we can't use regular instances size of 512 mega or even 2 giga when sharing large subscriptions between many users. So we would like to disable the merge box. In 2 sentences, what is the merge box? The merge box is a built-in feature of Meteor that's auto-merge collections, different subscriptions that share the same collection. For example, if I have one subscription that shares the driver name and the driver profile pic, and another subscription that shares the driver name and the taxi kind, it will send the driver name only once to the client. But this feature comes with a heavy price tag, because with a subscription of 500 items, for example, that is being shared by 300 users, instead of keeping in memory just the 500 documents, we will have in memory 150,000 documents, because the merge box keeps a full image of the subscription per each client. So we will need to disable it. This is more like a pseudocode of this feature because it's really integrated into Meteor. By the idea in general that you should bypass the session collection view and send the messages straight over the socket. When we are sending the messages straight over the socket, we are losing the ability to send all the removed documents as the client unsubscribes. That's why we are using here, you can see at the bottom, we are taking all the content of the multiplexer, and as the client unsubscribes, we are going over them and send the removed messages. Next, optimization. So we fixed the memory problem, but when sharing large subscription between many users, we still have problem. The CPU is working too hard. For this, we created the solution of batch publication. This solution is using custom DDP messages, an extension to the DDP protocol. It's an open PR now. You can look at it at site. It will help if you put +1. I hope that it will merge soon to the Meteor core. The extension actually lets you extend the DDP protocol with custom messages that are really important in order to scale you up better. And there is a link here to a Medium post where I explain why we should allow custom DDP messages. But what is batch publication? So the idea is simple. When we are listening to the observer and get the added, changed, and removed messages, instead of sending each message and stringify it and send it to each client, we batch all those messages together and send them as a one bulk to all the clients. That way, it doesn't matter really how many clients are connected to the same subscription, because they all get the same shared data when they are connected to it. In order to implement it better, we added another callback to the multiplexer of MongoDB that's called bulk ended. That way, when we are using the polling observer, we can combine all the added, change, and removed message that have been done during the same operation and send them as one batch. Even when you are using the oplog observer, it's still useful because when client joins an already existing collection, you just send him the cache data that is already stringified. You will find it unusual, but just stringifying all the messages when you are talking about in real load can take much of your CPU. This is a flow chart explaining the solution. I will pass on it, but you can look in the lecture later. So the benefits of batch publication. Reduce server CPU usage. We compute the messages once and send it to all listening clients. Better RAM time, because when clients joining an already existing subscription, we just send him the batch data. So we can actually scale to very large amount of clients on the same subscription without putting more load, more CPU, and more memory. Optimize client re-rendering. This one is interesting. There is now an open pull request of doing a batch to the DDP on the client side, because re-rendering after each message is not performant. But when doing this solution, instead of re-rendering after each message, in case you have 500 documents, you can re-render once after you analyzed all the documents. And the last one, and the most important, it creates another layer of optimization for Meteor. You can optimize the batch data from JSON graph to subscription level routing, and it's opened a window to the community to create new kind of solution. And especially now that when we are thinking about GraphQL or another solutions, this can be very useful. In the app I'm developing, when we needed real fast updating paste in the number of 10,000 a sec, we use Redis in the backend, and this solution can support it also. And the last optimization I will show today, it's more of a concept, but it will show you how amazing Meteor can scale, is the subscription amplifier. The subscription amplifier is like a middleware for subscription. You tell him, it's a convention. You tell him what the data he should get, from where, from which server, which publication, which options, what the operation is going to do on the stream of data, whether it needs to cache it or not, and to which collection he should publish the data. The idea is that when you are pulling, let's say, 1,000 documents a sec, and you are computing the diff in this space, you don't want to query the DB more than once and computing the diff more than once. But you want to share this data more than once, so you can put layers that will be just middleware over the changes of the relevant data, which is a very nice concept. And here, I will show you a sample of one use of subscription amplifier to scale you up. Let's say we have a subscription that shares 500 documents that are being updated once a sec. And the server that's handling this subscription is being shared, is sharing the subscription with 500 clients. But let's say we want to add another 15,000 clients to listen to this subscription. So instead of connecting them to the instance that is already analyzing the MongoDB data and doing the diff for the 1,000 documents once a sec, we just connect subscription amplifier that each one of them just send the batch data to 1,000 users. That's all for today. Any questions? Somebody?
While having the batch subscriptions, can we have ordinary subscriptions parallelly?
Yeah, of course.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like regular messages actually, but instead of just getting the added or removed. Yeah, I'll repeat the question. The question was whether using the batch publication, we can handle for the same client parallel subscriptions. And of course, all you need to do is do unblock at the first of the subscription, but this one you will need for whatever publication you use in order to use them simultaneously.
If I have some publications that are big data but it's constant, and one collection that I get from there very little, but different data.
The batch publication is per subscription. So you can handle one of the subscription without batch publication. You can use it whenever you want. Somebody else?
And also, the Amazons, they're not relational database, the second one. Can the DynamoDB, can it be implemented instead of Mongo without the upload?
Yes, of course. The idea is that we separate the layers of abstractions. So if you can fetch the Amazon DB and doing the diff over the data, you can support whatever DB you want. We are using Redis for some of the things we want in my project.
Okay.
Thank you. Last one, question? It's not yet outside. It's been done on closed network by now. I hope that a couple of the pull requests I mentioned before will be merged, and then we will be able to share more stuff with the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Omri. The next lecture, in like 5 minutes, they will set up, is David and Chen. They will talk about schema migrations, the solution for schema migration, and why it's better than the current ones.
בול בזמן.
יאללה חבר'ה, אנחנו רוצים להתחיל, בואו. Okay, so we're gonna start. So our talk will be about schema migrations. My name is Chen. I work in BookMD. BookMD is BookMD is an American-Israeli startup. We develop a marketplace for healthcare services in the United States, and we work mainly with Meteor.
And I'm David. I'm a freelance full-stack developer. I'm a member of the Guild of Programmers. It's the group that brought you this meetup.
All right, so in a word, why do we need schemas in our world? So when your project grows, you're probably going to define a schema for your data. If you don't do that, you're probably going to lose control of your data. Lots of stuff that you can do from a lot of places. Lots of potential bugs if you want to do it, and you probably want to do it in order to avoid mistakes. Also, the definition of your data is very clear. It helps when you have 7 programmers on your team. It's really helpful to sync everybody together. It really helps to understand how your data structure is and how the flow even of your business logic of your app works. And of course, it's recommended by the Meteor guide to use it. So, use it. All right, so why do we need to migrate our data? So let's say we deployed our app and it started being used, and data is starting to pile. Data starts piling. People start using our app, and we have some data on production that we don't want to delete. We have some business transactions, we have some customers' data, and we don't want to delete it. But we still want to deploy our new version of our app, which we can change completely the way we work with our data. So we must fit the current data to our new version of our app. All right, so we decided to create/search for the ideal migration tool, and we defined certain requirements for this tool that we search for or will create. So we wanted to track schema changes because we changed a lot during our development, and now we have data on production. We want to see if we can compare the schema which is used in our production environment in our current developing schema. We also don't want to miss anything because it changes a lot, so we want something to do it automatically. We also wanted to keep our schema definitions clean. What do I mean by that? is we don't want to, if we remove the field, for example, or we change, we don't want to add any properties to that field. So we will know that it was removed or changed, because it will be a mess, and the future development can be even more worse. We also wanted to create as much as auto-migration as we can, if it's possible, for a lot of trivial stuff that we added. For example, if we added a field that has a default value that we can add automatically to all our documents in our production environment, we can do it automatically. We want to. But of course, sometimes it's not enough, and we wanted to add, to allow the programmer to add its logic. Sometimes we must write our own code in order to do that. Also, we wanted to run it as a CLI, because we want to control when we run the migration, on which environment, maybe to use it from a script, from a DevOps script. So we wanted to control when we're going to run the migration, and to separate it from even creating the migration and programming it. And of course, we are in a Meteor meetup, so we want to make it work with Meteor. So we searched, and we saw two packages, one by Percolate, which I believe you know, and one by my fellow mate David here. But those packages, you can search and look for it. Maybe it can fit your project and your requirements. But for us, it wasn't enough. And the main problems that we faced is, first, the migrations by Percolate weren't binding to any schema definition. So we had to write everything manually. And we can forget stuff. And we can be more clever. They didn't have any powerful CLI tools. The Percolate migration has a deprecated CLI tool. And in David's package, it doesn't build that way, so you can run it in a CLI. So basically, we couldn't control when are we going to run the migrations, which is a problem. And those two packages, the code that migrate the data runs from inside of Meteor, which when we deploy our app, the code's still there. And it's unnecessary, because once we migrated our data for a new version, we don't need this code anymore. And usually, what all those packages do, they run it inside a Meteor.startup block, which will run every time you run your Meteor app. So again, we do not have any control when we're going to run the migration. So we decided to create our own, and to make the best of everything. So we created our own package. We use it in BookMD right now. And you can search also. You can look it up. And David will continue from here explaining about it.
Yeah, so Chen here explained the goals that we wanted to solve. So the first goal was to track the schema changes. So the way we did that is we are saving the current schema whenever you run create migrations into a folder under your, a folder that you state. It can be under your Git repository, and you can also commit that to your source control. And also, you can see here that you can control whenever you run the create schema. So that way you are not forced to create version each time you change your schema, only when you want to create a new version. Yeah, so the next goal was the schema definition clean. And by saving the schema history, we are really, it's not necessary for us to allow these kind of properties like rename and added to know what's different in your new version of schema. So this way, in your own code, you will have only your current schema and not the history that you used. So also the next goal would be to create auto migrations if it's possible. So what we've done is we run a diff function on your schema, on your current schema and your old schema, and then if we see trivial migrations, we create for you update calls for updating your new collection. So in here you can see that in this update we go through the whole collection and add the type field with the default value once, and this is generated from our code, and it's saved into a migration file in the migration directory that I've shown you before. So the next thing that we can do here is whenever we face a change that we cannot migrate automatically, we do note the developer about this change, and by doing this, we are trying to minimize the amount of changes that you will miss probably. You could also miss certain migrations, but at least this way you will have more coverage and less work for you. So the next thing is, because we are writing all of those migrations into a script, you could go and review this script and add your own code. So in here you can see that this portion of code is our own code, and this code will copy a certain value from the documents that you are updating, from username to owner. And this is the generated code that I've shown you before. The next goal would be to run as CLI. So the first script that we added to this package, and it's going to be copied into your project directory once you run this package. This script will allow you to create the migrations. It takes a name, and this name could be any string without spaces, but you have to be consistent with it. It takes version, your current version, your old version, and the path for your migrations directory, where you want to save those new schemas and migration script. And the second script will be run migrations. This takes a configuration file. In this configuration file, you can state your different environments. And also, you can give this tool the environment you want to run this migration on. You need to give it the operation that you want to do, if you want to do an up or down, and the target directory that you're gonna run the migration scripts from. And this is the directory that we stated before. So this is an example of your configuration file. Of course, you can add whatever environment you want here. One setup could be a setup where you have a staging app and a production app, and then you will migrate your staging app and switch those around. And this way you can give the user a seamless experience while updating your app. One last thing. This package is divided to two packages actually. The first package is the bookend schema migrations. It's a migration engine. And the second package is the versioning tool written by me. It's the simple schema migrations package. Simple schema versioning package. And by replacing the simple schema versioning tool, you could also extend this package to allow different kind of schemas like joy or astronomy or whatever comes next. So this is also extendable and will allow you to be future-proof for that. That's it. Any questions?
You do get a message when the data type is being changed, for example, from string to object, right? And so do you have to redo the whole script again, or what comes next at that?
Well, the question was if we do get a message for updating the field from an object to string. So you asked if we need to change the whole script again after getting this message. So no, this message is not on the CLI. It's on your script. It's just a comment in the script, and you can choose if you want to address it or not. It only depends on you, but we are creating the script with those messages built in.
Just to make something more clear, we create a migration file which contains a function actually that you will run eventually, and in this function you have a comment. You have comments. If you cannot auto-migrate trivial stuff, you get comment, hey, we could not find auto-migration for this collection because of this and that and this and that. So you'll get notified more.
The schema also checks the form itself, like it's valid, not or stuff like that.
Yeah, so we are using collection 2 package for the schema. So the simple schema versioning tool, it all actually relies on that collection 2 package. So you have to use collection 2 in order to use our package. And collection 2 already validates your own insertions, updates, removes that you do to allow the data to be consistent with your own code. So this is why we recommend this package and not anything else. Any more questions? Thanks for listening.
Okay, we're going to move on directly to the next subject, which is a subject that is dear to my heart. It's about Angular 2.0 and Meteor 1.3 and how you combine those two to create a really amazing solution. And the guy who's going to talk about it is Dotan Simcha, who's actually working with me to actually create that solution. So good luck.
So, hi everyone, my name is Dotan, and I'm going to present the future of full stack web development. And as you can see, I will demonstrate it with Angular 2 and Meteor 1.3. As might a part of you know some facts about Angular or Meteor, each one of them has its great features and great advantages, and I'm just about to tell you about a whole new world of combining them together and working them together. So a bit about me. My name is Dotan. I'm a guild member, the guild that we just heard about from David. We're a guild of programmers. We work each one as a freelance. And I'm also an Angular Meteor contributor. I worked on the Angular Meteor 1, and now I work on Angular 2 Meteor. Let's start with the Meteor. As we heard before, one of the greatest criticism on Meteor was that the fact that it has its own packages system instead of NPM. NPM, as might of part of you know, it's a great package system, and it provides a lot of great functionality. And most of the Node.js developers know how to use NPM. So when Node.js developers wants to use Meteor, they struggled with the new packages system instead of just work with the existing one. They already know. Meteor 1.3 provides new features, great features. One of them is NPM support and support the node modules. As I said, NPM, for those of you who don't know it yet, it's the most popular packages system, and it provides the packages for client-side and server-side for both of them. It just brings the packages, it does not load it or anything else, it just brings the packages to your app. It also can resolve dependencies. It has many other great features that you could use. It also has some disadvantages, some cons that Meteor tried to solve using Atmosphere, its own packages system. And in Meteor 1.3, they didn't solve this using NPM. They just brought you the ability to use NPM in your apps. So using NPM in your apps doesn't require anything special. Just update your Meteor version to 1.3, and then you can use it. It does not force you to use NPM. You can just use Atmosphere, just like you used to. So with NPM comes another great feature. Meteor implemented CommonJS specification. So you can just use require to load your modules. And it has very great things comes with it, starting with modules isolation. So each module can handle its own variables and configuration and everything else. There's no need to use the global scope anymore. You can just use the package scope, and each package can export some variables to another packages. So that's Meteor 1.3. As Uri said before, there are more great features in Meteor 1.3. I just covered this one because I will explain later how to use it with Angular 2. Let's summarize Meteor 1.3. It's still in beta, but in the end of this month, the release is expected. And it's already pretty solid, so there won't be any more breaking changes or something like that. It has NPM support and CommonJS with ES6 modules. So Meteor took CommonJS specification, implemented it, and just enriched it with another feature that comes from ES6 modules. Then you can, instead of use the require method from the CommonJS specification, you can just import your modules with the import. Just you can see here. So that's Meteor. Let's move to Angular 2. I'll tell you about some new features, and later we'll talk how to connect them together. So Angular 2, also still in beta, but it's pretty solid. In the last 2 years or so, Angular team make great effort to provide a full working framework, a whole new Angular. It does not have any backward compatibility to Angular 1. It's a whole new world. As I said, it's beta, but yes, it's solid, and you can use it right now. Angular 2 is faster, it's simpler, and it's better. Yeah. Instead of DDO, you get annotations, and it's better in some ways. Another feature we can use when writing Angular 2 application is to write our code in TypeScript. So just a little brief about TypeScript for those of you who doesn't know it yet. TypeScript is, this is the line from their own definition. It's a strict superset of JavaScript and adds optional static typings and class-based objects. So it's ES6 with another great features. We need to remember that it's compiled to regular JavaScript because the browsers does not support all of this feature right now, maybe in the future. And Angular 2 written in TypeScripts, and recommend you to use TypeScripts to write your new applications. So now let's talk about connecting between those two awesome frameworks. So as we said, Angular provides us great features, great UI features, dependency injection, the perfect bindings, and some more. And Meteor provides us the data synchronization, the server-side code, the code sharing, and the data collection, and much more. So just before we talk about Angular 2, this is not a new thing. Angular Meteor already exists with Angular 1. So you can use it now. It's stable, it has a great community, great features, and it's provided really the full solution to use Angular and Meteor without the struggle and trying to connect them and synchronizing the data and displaying out of the box. So in Angular 2 Meteor, we just improved Angular Meteor. And there is a whole new Angular Meteor with new features, and let's talk about it now. So Angular 2 Meteor provides three simple things. It's the data, the synchronization between Angular and Meteor, and the handling of the templates, the HTML templates, because Angular templates need special treatment, and improved TypeScript compiler that adds TypeScript support to Meteor with a lot of great features like caching to provide a faster build that we all know that it's not so fast in Meteor, but it's better with caching the compiled files. Another feature, just like in Angular 1 Meteor, it's the authentication support and so much more. I hope you use it and try it so you can see all the new features. Another thing about Angular 2 Meteor is that Angular 2 Meteor's tutorial is the most comprehensive tutorial to Angular 2. You can start with the getting started, the very basic application, add forms, validation, data synchronization, connect to server side, Google Maps, pagination, even some mobile support. Starting from the very basic app to a full application that can work in production. So we'll move on to a little code example. In this example, we'll create a simple Angular 2 Meteor application, just with a basic view. We displayed a list of data that we have in the server side, and let's see it. So to scaffold the new application, we'll use Meteor Create, just like any other Meteor application. We use Meteor CLI and ecosystem to create our application. We run npm init to create a new application that uses npm and Node.js. Our next step is to add the compilers. The compilers is still needed to be installed from the atmosphere, so we run Meteor add. And then we can just use npm just like we used to, those of you used. Just npm install Angular 2 and npm install Angular 2 Meteor, and we can now use them both in just a few commands. So this is how a very basic application looks like. The imports are regular. We used Meteor to import our packages, and as you can see, we create a component, we add the view, and we just said hello world or something like that. Very simple application. And then we bootstrap our app with the app selector. As you can see, we imported the bootstrap from, for those of you who already tried Angular 2, you need to import Angular 2 / bootstrap module and bootstrap your application with it. We use here a different bootstrap method, which comes from the Angular 2 Meteor Auto Bootstrap package. And this package actually does the connection. It connects Meteor and Angular and provides the ability to use the feature of Angular 2 Meteor. Another feature it provides, it set the default, it's added to Angular differs the default handle, which means that we use just cursor from Meteor as we used to, and every change or every modification to the data will be will notify Angular. So you do not need to handle anything special. Just need to create your data. We just see it here. Just create a regular collection, and our next step is to add it to our component, and we can just use it. You can see that we define, this is TypeScript. We define the type of our variable, and we use the collection we just created to find all of the data, and that's it. The return value of the find function is not an array; it's a cursor. But Angular 2 Meteor does that for you. You do not need to handle anything special or fetch the data or to do anything like that. You just need to use it. And so this is how you use it. ng4 is a directive from Angular 2, and you can just iterate your data of parties and display its name, and that's it. You just get the data. Angular 2 Meteor provides lots of new features and great features for creating an application. We try to find all of the common things that every application needs today. One of them is the authentication. So another package we provide is the Angular 2 Meteor Accounts UI package, which provides a basic login and sign up. So you can use it out of the box. Just use it like that. You need to install it, of course, npm install Angular 2 Meteor Accounts UI. And then you can just use it. You should declare to Angular that you're going to use it. Just import it and then use it in the directives. And then in your view file, just use it as a directive. So that's it. We created in 5 minutes an application with data synchronization, with server-side, client-side. We connect them both. We also have a list of the data, and we have login buttons that provide us the ability to log in and sign up. So that's the very getting started of Angular 2 Meteor. So I'm part of the Angular Meteor team. I'm a contributor. And I would like to tell you about how to help us. First, use it. Angular 2 Meteor is already exists. You can use it. Just need to install it. It's not a future thing. You can install it right now. It's based on the latest versions of Angular and Meteor. It already provides the ability to use Meteor 1.3. And if you do not want to install it now, you can already use Angular 2 Meteor without Meteor 1.3, and it works. That's it. Any questions?
For me, Angular and Meteor is I think it's an overkill, because Meteor is reactive enough. So, and this is JavaScript and this is JavaScript. So what are the benefits of using Angular within Meteor?
So the question was why to use Angular as a UI framework, and I think it's an overkill. And Meteor provides anything that there is in Angular. Am I right?
It is reactive now.
Oh, so it's reactive now.
I can do this example in each loop.
So right now, the application you create with Meteor comes with Blaze.
Yeah.
Blaze, in the future, it won't be developed anymore. And right now, Meteor suggests you to use another UI frameworks. Angular is one of them. You can also use React or anything else you like. It's your personal preference. It's not. There is no best practice for that.
So it switches Blaze. It replaces Blaze.
Yes, it's instead of Blaze.
Ah, okay.
And you get the power of Angular.
Okay.
It's not just the bindings and the UI templates. You get much more, like filters, pipes, and a lot of great features you get from Angular.
Okay.
1 and 2.
Thank you.
Is MDG backing Angular? You spoke about the fact that they're just kind of stock numbers on the days.
And we can't hear you.
Sorry. You spoke about the fact that MDG are telling people not to use Blaze anymore, to write in React. Are they also backing Angular officially, or is it purely community backed?
Yeah, a few months ago, Meteor declared that Angular is one of the frameworks that's supported, and it's not Angular Meteor not provided you by Meteor, but you can use it, and Meteor supports the development of Angular Meteor.
So does that mean, because they're talking about also bringing GraphQL and things like that, does that mean that Angular will work right away with GraphQL, or just React will start?
Yeah, this work we would need to do in Angular Meteor to provide you the full experience of using the whole Meteor features, and you'll have it. Don't worry.
What's your opinion on the Angular React today? Why did you choose to continue with Angular?
Actually, I think it's a hard question. It's a hard question, and the question is why to use Angular 2 and not use React. Actually, I think I come from the Angular world, and I think that Angular provides features that are great and useful, and I think that React provides the same or even maybe the best, but I think that you should choose the best framework that you need to a project. Each one of the frameworks has its own benefits, and it has another features. You should choose what is best for you.
Are you guys in your package working with, collaborating with someone in Angular? I mean, do you work closely with someone in Angular?
Yeah, the question is if we work close to the Angular team and if we work together. So yes, of course. There are many features that needed to look really inside Angular, and we use the Angular team to learn much more and to provide you the best solution.
There was a few more questions from the YouTube channel. So one question was about SEO, I think, right? So the first question about SEO. So about SEO. So there's a project called Angular Universal that actually lets you render. Angular 2.0 has a renderer, and then you can. Which means you can render Angular to anything you like. It's not just the DOM, but you can render to React Native or to NativeScript or whatever you want. So one of the solutions that it gives you can render actually to a string on the server, and then you gain two things. One is SEO. It means that if a bot is coming to your website, you can instantly serve whatever content you want with render it inside the server. And the second thing is you can make the initial load much faster. So it's already in progress, but this is something that we just need to connect and implement also in Meteor. There's already a solution, I think, for Express that Patrick.js did. So if anyone wants to help us, we would love to, and if not, we will get to that very soon. The second question was about, I think, React and Meteor 1.3. So, I'm part of the Vue team in Meteor. The other part of the Vue team in Meteor is called Evan. He's the creator of Vue.js. And we're working together also on the React integration. There's already a working example, and if you want to help, then you can just just start using it and follow the branches of the React packages in Meteor, or and you can help and pull request this thing and see how it goes, and yeah, just try Meteor 1.3 and React. Yeah, thank you. We will have like a 10 minutes break, and then we're going to move to the lecture about unit testing and continuous integration with Mocha and spacejam by Ronen. A special guest tonight. We have Ronen from Practical Meteor to come talk to us. And he's going to talk to us about unit testing and continuous integration with mocha and spacejam. So give it up for Ronen.
Hi everybody. First of all, before anything else, I need to apologize. The gods of the demos have really messed with me today. My virtual machine, I'm probably the only developer on Meteor that develops on Windows, but with a Ubuntu virtual machine. And the virtual machine crashed today, so I'm going to try and run everything over Windows, and hopefully it's going to be okay. And let's hope that the gods will be forgiving during the presentation. So one of my passions is testing and continuous integration. It's something that I always strongly believed in. I've been a CTO of multiple startups through my life. And I've been living since 2010 in the Dominican Republic, enjoying an endless summer, surfing a bit, and also being one of the organizers of the Meteor Dominican Republic meetup. As part of, in most recent years, I tried a couple of ideas in the Dominican Republic, didn't really work, but I did work, I'm working already for 3 years, me and my team with Meteor, and we learned a lot. We've created a lot of open source packages, mainly testing and CI related, and a couple of those are the things we're going to talk about today, which is mocha and spacejam. So before anything else, first of all, let's talk a little bit about testing types. The types of tests that you usually want to create when you're developing a system are unit tests, which are the lowest level tests, and they test method and function logic in isolation. And usually when we say isolation, it means that you probably want to stub or mock everything that this method or function will call, such databases and APIs and other stuff. And those are the first types of tests, which mocha is perfect for. The second types of tests are integration tests, where there you have a little bit of more leniency, and you're gonna yes, allow the test to call databases or APIs and other stuff, and you just want to make sure that the system works as expected and things go into the database, APIs are being called with the correct arguments, etc. And then you have end-to-end tests, which are basically trying to simulate use cases from an end-user perspective, and there you will probably use browser automation tools such as Selenium, and you can even use things such as Sauce Labs, which is actually the one sponsoring the Selenium project, and they will even allow you to video record in different browsers and different resolutions all of those end-to-end tests, so the QA department or the product manager can see how the system looks on different browsers and different resolutions. So those are the types of tests, and then there's another two types of tests in a different type of an area, which are called progression tests and regression tests. Progression test is basically the test that you want to write, that are the tests you're going to write or execute, that are going to test things that the new features that you're developing right now. New features and new functionality that you're developing right now. And the regression tests are usually the tests that you're going to run to make sure that the new code that you wrote didn't break old code. And as the system grows a lot bigger and bigger and bigger, the size of the regression test is going to go bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you don't have automated testing, then things are going to start breaking more and more frequently, and you're going to get your co-founder trying and struggle you or something like that. So, why automate testing? I talked about it right now a little bit, but without automated testing, there's a direct relationship between the code base size and the required QA department size that you will need to in order to regression test every time there's a new feature to make sure you didn't break something old. The release cycle length is going to get bigger and bigger, and the chance something broke, of course, 100% is going to get bigger. And what's going to happen with usually development teams, if they don't automate tests, the bigger the system gets, you're going to slowly but surely move development from running to eventually crawling like a baby. So, the other way around. Unit testing with Meteor. Unit testing with Meteor, how can you implement unit testing with Meteor? And we're going to get an I'm going to give you a couple of examples. First of all, the best way for me, and this is what we've been doing since the get-go, is we maintain all of our coding packages. The reason we maintain all of our coding packages is because the initial testing framework that came out with Meteor was called TinyTest, and it allowed you only to test coding packages using package on test. So we do maintain all our coding packages. Actually, it's also a good practice because then you can reuse code and you're going to make sure that you're actually having packages that are modular and are focusing on doing one thing and doing it right. And you're going to use package on test to add your unit test files, which is an API that Meteor has. And then you have two options for actually running for the testing frame. You have more than a few options, but the two options that I like are one is TinyTest, which is the testing framework that came out with Meteor, and the other one is Mocha, which is a really stable, mature, probably the most mature, stable, and popular unit testing framework for JavaScript in general, which me and my team ported to Meteor, and it works pretty well. There's another port of Mocha to Meteor from the guys' team at Velocity, but it's tied into Velocity, and we try to basically avoid that. We're trying to make it as compact and small and efficient as possible, and I'll talk a little bit later about the differences between our Mocha and their Mocha. And then in order to run those unit tests, you're going to be able to run those unit tests either in the browser or from the command line using another package of ours, which is called spacejam, that allows you to run unit tests from the command line inside Phantom.js. So this is Mocha versus TinyTest, and this is why we think you should basically move to Mocha from TinyTest if you're even using TinyTest. Mocha supports test suite, it supports nested test suite, it supports skipping test or suites during development. So if you're messing with something that doesn't work, you just do .skip and you skip it, and it also allows you to run only a single test or suite. Let's start first of all with a package on test example, which we're gonna show from GitHub. And those are the things that I usually like to use in my tests. First of all, you always need to include the package that you're going to test, which is usually the package under development. In this case, it's easy service config. I'm sorry, not easy service config. Give me a second. Yeah, we can go with that. Okay, there's a package called Easy Meteor Settings. Not yet popular, hopefully it will be, but it allows you to easily read settings for Meteor using A.B.C syntax. Makes your life a little bit easier, not that easier. And in order to test the package, is it big enough? Everybody can read? Zoom in? 1 sec. Better? Yeah. So, things. First of all, you're going to include the package under test. Then you're going to include different packages you want to use as part of your test, underscore CoffeeScript being an example. You're going to use our Mocha package. And if you want to use TinyTest, you're going to use TinyTest instead. A couple of things I always like to include in my test is one, proper logging packages, also developed by us, which is probably, I think, the most popular logging package in Atmosphere. If not the most popular, the second most popular. It's a port of a logging package also that we've done with some extensions. Chai, which is a very popular assertion library. Sinon, a very popular stubs and spy library. And of course the code under test. And let me show you how it's going to look. So when porting a Mocha to Meteor, we did a quick and dirty decision that we're not going to write our own reporter and we'll try and just basically make something work as fast as possible. So this is the standard Mocha web reporter. And what we did in order to make it work with Meteor is we just split it into two. So you see client tests on one side and server tests on the other side. It was the fastest to us, but it works. And that's how it looks. One of the things that you can do also in this browser, same as you have in the regular Mocha, you can always, as you can do with Tiny Test, you can always just decide you want to run something. This is actually Meteor running. Okay? How do you run the tests? Sorry, I missed that.
Where do you put the package?
Hmm?
Where do you put the package file?
The package?
Package file.
I'm sorry, you know what, that's a good question. Before that, is there anybody who never wrote a package in his life? Okay, so quite a few. So when you say the package.js file, the package.js file is basically like, if you're familiar with NPM, it's similar to the package.json file that specifies different things about the package, including the name, the GitHub repository, and the files that should be included in the package. So if you're looking at the package.js file of what we're looking at right now is, this is how you write packages in Meteor.
Where do you put it?
Under the package, in your app folder, under the packages folder. So your structure is going to be something like, one second. Give me a second. Inside the app folder is the Meteor folder. Inside the app folder, you're going to have all of this. How do you run the tests? You're going to run the test by running Meteor test packages. Meteor test packages is the command to run tests within packages. And if you want to run it with our Mocha, you're going to run it with the argument minus driver package. Sorry, it's minus. It's not minus. Driver package practical Meteor Mocha. And then you're going to specify the folders of the packages that you want to test. In this case, if I'm inside the package folder, I'm going to specify /, which means test the package inside that folder. But I can specify as many folder or package names as I want. So for example, if you have an app with 5 packages, where you're keeping those packages, your app's code in a modular way, you can basically specify Meteor test packages, all the package names you want to test. Usually what we do during development is that we run our app using on port 3000, the default, and then we run Meteor test packages and test all the packages in parallel at the same time on a different Meteor port, on port 3100. And using the Mongo URL environment variable, we also run it on a different database. So the package tests and the Meteor app don't collide MongoDB-wise. Okay? So this is running it from the command line, and I'll give you an example how this is done quickly. In the browser, Windows. Sorry. So this is how the command looks. I hope it's visible enough. Now, by the way, the default driver package for Meteor The default driver package for Meteor is a testing console. Testing console is a driver package for running unit tests in Meteor that basically runs your tiny tests. I'm sorry, testing browser. Sorry, testing browser. That's the default driver package that Meteor runs in order to run its unit test using the tiny test HTML reporter. Anybody saw? Somebody didn't see the tiny test HTML reporter before? Okay, so won't have time to do it today, but just you can, Meteor itself, the entire Meteor repository has test coverage using tiny test. You can basically clone the Meteor repository, run Meteor test packages in the Meteor root folder, and you will see all the Meteor tests. Which, by the way, is something that Meteor should do. It should add Travis CI integration in order so every pull request can run all of those tests and provide feedback to the pull request creator that he didn't break anything. What? No, I'm thinking of creating a pull request doing that. So back to our issue. This is this is basically the Easy Meteor settings package, running the tests of the Easy Meteor settings package, and then let's see how we can run it from the command line. To run it from the command line, you basically you use an NPM package that we created that is called spacejam. Spacejam is an NPM package we've created in order to be able to run Meteor unit tests from the command line using Phantom.js. So to do that, sorry. There is a wrapper script that instead of having you to force writing the driver package argument, you can run just that, which is called spacejam mocha, and give it a second. Okay, we already said gods of the demo. You should get the console output out there. Let's continue with the presentation. We'll go back to it afterwards. So, running it from the command line didn't work right now, but basically what you do, you use spacejam, test packages, drivers package, you do mocha console runner. That's the one that will output the test results to the console. And we created a wrapper script that instead of writing all of this big line, you're basically going to write only that. I'm going to post a blog. I'm going to do a blog post about it in my Practical Meteor blog, practicalmeteor.com blog. So all of this is going to be documented there as well. What's the difference between Practical Meteor Mocha and Velocity's Mocha? So first of all, we don't depend on velocity. The second thing is, unlike Velocity, where they store all of their MongoDB test results in the MongoDB, we basically we don't use MongoDB to report the test results, which means the tests run much faster. Client test results are reported directly to the reporter. Server-side test results are published to the client using a collectionless publication. The HTML reporter is the basic Mocha one that you saw, split into two. You cannot use our package for our Mocha for now in order to write tests for application code. So your code is going to have to be inside packages. But the big advantage is you can run our tests from the command line using spacejam, which brings us to the next subject, which is continuous integration. First of all, what is continuous integration? Continuous integration is first of all based on test-driven development, which means more than anything else, test-driven development means that every code that you write, also you have to write test code in parallel to make sure you're going to have regression tests in place. The bigger your system gets, and you're going to know always that nothing broke. And there is a central, in the continuous integration environment, there's a central build and test server that provides to the developer instant feedback on every code push and every pull request created. That's continuous integration. And why do you want to do continuous integration? First of all, the bigger the system gets, you're going to get the tests are going to take more and more time. It can go up to 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 50 minutes, and the developer shouldn't be the one waiting for all of those tests to finish before he can push his code or create a pull request. So what you usually do is the developer is going to do only the progression tests, but then when he's done developing and the progression tests pass, he's going to push the code to a central build server, which are going to run his tests and then give him at some point in time feedback to make sure that, and let him know if all the regression tests have passed as well. If not, he's going to be able to see the output of the test, build and test, and see what broke, and then fix it again. So the developer is going to be able to work faster. Again, I already talked about that. Make sure the code didn't break anything. Those are the regression tests you're going to run there. And another thing that we also practice is make sure that the mainline, the master branch, the develop branch, whatever you use for the mainline code, is always ready for deployment. So you create a pull request, and if the build the pull request hasn't passed, including all of the tests, you will never merge into master, and this way master is always kept in great shape. The only pull request that all the tests have passed is being merged into the master. What time is it? How much time do you have more?
How much time do you need?
No, not much. 10 minutes, okay. Using continuous integration, there are many options out there for continuous integration platforms. I made a summary of some of them. Those are the most popular out there. Travis CI, the good thing about it, it's free for open source repos, so it's great for public repos. But if you want it for private repos, it's going to start with $130 per 2 concurrent builds, which is a little bit pricey. But it's also probably the fastest one out there. There's Circle CI, which we use for our private repos because it's free for 1 concurrent build. You have CodeShip, which is also very popular, including with Arunoda's team. And they limit the free version to 100 builds a month, and then it's not that pricey. There's a new one called Drone.io, which is based on Go. It's free for open source. It's very cheap for 1 concurrent build. And the good thing about Drone.io is that you can also host it yourself inside a Docker. They set it up beautifully to already be working out of the box. By the way, Travis CI is also open source, but try and set up a Travis CI environment, it's almost impossible. So, and it's based also on Ruby, which you need to be an expert in Ruby in order to make that happen. And then, of course, there's the old school Jenkins, which came out of Hudson, which I've used 10 years ago. And I'll be honest, I don't like it. You usually need to self-host it, and it's very cumbersome and to set up and to configure. I can get people set up with Travis CI or Circle CI in 10 minutes, whereas with Jenkins, I'm going to spend a full day in order to be able to configure everything. The good thing about also all the services above here is that all of them have integrations with popular hosting services out of the box, such as Amazon, Google Cloud Platform, Slack, HipChat, whatever. With Jenkins, yes, you do get those as well, but setting them up is hell on earth. So, but your decision. I'm going to give you right now a simple .travis.yml file. By the way, all of usually all of those 4 The way you configure those is with YML files. You can either do it with a UI, or you can do it with a YML file. YML, yet another markup language. Anybody not familiar with YML? Everybody familiar? Okay. So I'm going to give you a simple example how to set up on Travis CI package, Meteor package tests using a YML file. And I hope this is big enough. So first of all, one of the things that you see is I can even specify inside the YML file, listen, send me notifications about every build that passed or failed into my Slack channel, which is great. That's how we work. All of the builds are being sent into a Travis CI or Circle CI Slack channel, and that's how you know that's how the developer immediately knows if something broke or didn't. All of the way that Travis YML file works is that there is an install section, basically, which installs all the prerequisites for the test, and then there is a script section, which basically is responsible for building and testing the system. By default, you specify in Travis the language, which is Node.js, and if it's Node.js, Travis is smart enough to know that for Node.js, it's usually an NPM package, and in an NPM package, the install step should be NPM install, and the script step should be NPM test. For Meteor, it's not that case, and that's why what we need to do is we need to specify our own commands in order to be able to test Meteor in Travis. And all of those things that you see are basically shell commands. In Travis YML, under install, you can specify as many shell commands as you want, and you can either specify it as multiple commands as you have in the install section, or you can specify it as only one command in the script section. So in the install, we install Meteor, and since we cannot install Meteor into user local bin, you need to add Meteor to the path, and then you install spacejam, and in order to run your package tests, you again use spacejam from the command line, spacejam test packages minus driver package, practical Meteor, mocha console runner, which is the one that's going to execute the tests and output the results to the console. Let me give you a quick example of how this looks within Travis. Sorry. One beautiful thing about Travis, you can sign in with GitHub, same with Circle, same with Ronen, all of those. You just sign with GitHub, and you basically can see all the test output. Let me put it bigger. And here is actually a working example of the output of spacejam test packages.
Mike?
Sorry. So I'm repeating for the viewers online is that one of the beautiful things about Travis is you can sign in with GitHub. It's totally integrated into GitHub. And what you can see here is the output of the test results that were run using spacejam and Phantom.js. And you can see that everything is being printed into the console. As I said, I'm going to write a blog post about it as well. So this presentation is going to be in some kind of a form in my blog as well in the next couple of weeks. Going back to the presentation, which is where? Sorry. Something happened here. No, wait. never mind. There's. Now we're good. Okay, perfect. Thanks. Okay, so what's coming from us next? What's coming from us next is, first of all, with Mocha, we want to support. Oh my God. Okay, don't move. With Mocha, we want to support all the Mocha reporters that are out there. Mocha has many different types of reporters, including reporters that support X-unit output, which some in the community wanted to see. With spacejam, one of the things that we want to do is we want to be able to run the tests from the command line in any browser, not only in Phantom.js. We've seen quite a few times where basically things fail because it's Phantom.js, and Phantom.js is not compatible with Google Chrome or Firefox. So with Selenium, you can run automated tests inside browsers, and that's what we want to try and do. So basically, every package out there will be able to use Mocha and spacejam in order to make sure that this package works in Google Chrome, in Firefox, in Internet Explorer, and in Safari. That's one of the things we want to do as well. And regarding spacejam.io, this is an idea that we've been having for a very, very long time. We want to create a continuous integration and deployment service tailored specifically for Meteor, which is going to include automated deployments to all popular hosting providers via branches and tags, automated SSL and Cloudflare configuration, which is always a little bit difficult, especially for newbies. One of the things that we've been practicing for a long, long time is dedicated websites per pull request. This is something that follows the 12-factor app principle for whoever is familiar with 12-factor app principle from Heroku. So we have dedicated environments per developer and per pull requests. So how does something like that look? And don't tell Meteor we're doing that because they're gonna, where is it? Yes. So one of the companies we are consulting for right now is called Bontix, and what we're doing basically, as part of the build in Circle CI, we are also adding another GitHub commit status, which basically is a link to the website where the pull request website is deployed. So if I'm going to click on that link, you're going to see that the website is called PR71 Bontix. So what's good about that? Product managers, even end customers, can basically look at the pull request at the new feature and provide instant feedback. Before merging the feature, and that has been very helpful for us, especially working, as I said, against product manager and customer and developers. By the way, it's on Meteor's free hosting. We're, how do you call it, salvaging them. I hope we're going to move away from that at some point in time, because yeah, we have a lot of pull requests. We have like 3-4 pull requests per day, so we do that. That's one of the things that we wanted to do with spacejam.io, basically create a continuous integration deployment environment that will support that type of feature as well. By the way, with the new Trello, if you guys use Trello for project management, with the new Trello GitHub integration, those commit statuses that show you a link into the pull request website go directly into Trello as well. Finally, we're for hire. We're for hire. We can do quick MVPs, we can do automated testing and continuous integration consultation, get you set up all of that, and we're also very passionate on everything that has to do with business process automation, integration, stuff like that. That's our core and bread and butter. So that's our contact. As part of the blog post, one final thing, as part of the blog post, I will also show how you can use of those assertion libraries and spies, stubs and spies library in order to properly write unit and integration tests. So stay tuned for the blog posts, and that's it. Questions?
Did you mention the load test?
Load tests we're not Another thing that, yes, should probably go into such an environment, but no, we haven't done load testing yet. We did port Faker, which is a package for creating fake data, really advanced, into Meteor as well, called Practical Meteor Faker, which can be a basis of some load testing data, but no. But I think that Arunoda is working on something like that.
You use the Meteor down package. There is the Meteor down package.
Okay.
For load testing.
Yes. From Arunoda, right? Yeah.
What was the question?
Load testing with Meteor. Load testing with Meteor. Yes.
Isn't mocha anyhow similar to Gulp or Grunt?
Gulp and Grunt are what?
Repeat the question.
Yeah, if mocha is similar to Gulp and Grunt, no. Mocha is a unit testing framework with test suite. Grunt is basically, how do you call it? Let's call it a build automation, exactly. Build automation or some kind of a local continuous integration environment. That's Grunt, similar Gulp. So mocha is more similar to, if you're familiar with Jasmine. So mocha and Jasmine are the most popular unit testing frameworks. By the way, Jasmine has been ported also to Meteor by, yes. What else?
Someone from the chat here asked if you've been successful working with Cordova on Windows with Meteor.
Because of the blog post about Cordova. Cordova, Windows, yes, Android. Yes, I've been. But, sorry, yes, the answer is yes. By the way, question, who is writing tests as part of their Meteor code? Who isn't writing tests as part of their Meteor code? Who isn't writing tests as part of their Meteor code but has an app in production? And nobody wants to kill you guys? No. Okay. It depends. Again, if it's an MVP and the thing is validate a business idea, then yeah, you should probably focus less on testing. But if it's starting to be something that creates traction and you want to make sure that your customers are getting a great, excellent experience and deployments are, you have fast iterations, that's definitely something that I would recommend everybody to do.
Thank you, Ronen. It was a pleasure. And thanks everyone for coming. See you again very soon, hopefully, in the next meetup. And if you want to suggest talks or what? If you want to suggest talks or anything, then you can contact us, talk to people here, or you can actually just go to github.com/urigo. That's my name, URIGO, and my email is there, and you can ask questions or anything you want. And also there's the Meteor forums, which you can do all of that and more. So thank you, and special thanks to Aviv, which created this all of it. Thank you. And of course, thank you so much for our amazing video recording team who set up this amazing event. Thank you so much.